Hey there, welcome back to the Meat Thinker channel. My last brisket session was not a success because I was still learning how to operate an offset smoker. It definitely needed a follow-up cook to make sure I'm getting better at using my new toy. So please let me show you how this week's brisket turned out. So let's get to it. In my last week's video, I made 7 mistakes to have the brisket turn out not so great. And those mistakes were 1, not buying the best brisket I could find, and 2, not having proper size firewood, 3, not having proper tools to cut firewood to proper size, 4, making changes in the setup without testing, and 5, not wearing proper shoes, and 6, falling asleep during the cook, and 7, guaranteeing my wife the great result. And this is what I did to address those mistakes. 1, I went to a local butcher shop and bought a very handsome looking brisket. 2, the splits were cut into proper sizes that would fit inside the firebox. 3, I did make a purchase on a manual and hydraulic log splitter along with a small sledgehammer to be able to split the firewood. And 4, I reverted back to my original setup by removing stack extension and water pan. 5, old habits die hard. I didn't wear closed-toe shoes again. And 6, I stayed awake for the duration of the cook. And 7, I kept my mouth shut and didn't tell my wife anything. So let's see how this one turned out. First, firewood. It is a perfect size for my firebox. This will help shorten the temperature swings when adding splits to the firebox. Moving on to the chimney full of charcoal. Light them up blazing hot and dump it into the firebox. A nice hot coal bed is the start of good fire management. The coal bed is ready. Throw in a chunk of split to bring the temperature up and bring it down to my target temperature 225. As you can see, I have 4 probes set up for the smoker. The first one is on the stack side. Number 2 is in the middle of the grate, and the third is on the top grate. The last one is for the meat. I got rid of the water pan by the firebox, and I won't be messing with it for a while. I also got rid of the stack extension as it tends to make the middle grate a lot hotter than the stack side. Removing the stack extension did even out the temperature across the grate. Now the temperature is 235. The brisket goes in nice and seasoned up, and it's about 11 p.m. 3.5 hours in, I see a lot of mahogany color on the surface. Looking pretty good. 6 hours in, the bark is looking pretty good. I also see that fat dripping through the grate. It is a good sign that the fat is being rendered. 9 hours in, the meat is shrunk substantially. The bark is set solid. It is almost ready for the full boat. Even though I thought I did pretty good trimming on the fat side, but this one looks pretty uneven. I'll need to work on trimming to have that consistent look. The internal temperature has reached 180 degrees and it is now ready to come out to get a full boat treatment. To save time going in and out of the kitchen, I had the full ready cut and ready to boat this right in front of the smoker. Take the thermometer out and start poking around and give it a jiggle test. The flat part looks a little stiff, but overall it looks more than ready. Put the brisket in a full boat and goes right back into the smoker. The next target temperature is 200 degrees. As soon as it hits 200 degrees, pull it out of the smoker. Let's enjoy this view for a moment here. All the cooking is finished, and let's transition into resting. I prefer using the oven because it's just easier. But make sure to let the internal temperature drop down to 170 to 180 degrees before going into the oven. Resting can last for a long time. I've seen some folks on YouTube going past 12 hours, but I usually try to stay within 8 hours. Today, it rested for about 5 hours. Let's put the brisket on the cutting board and pour some juice over it to give it extra moisture. Just to do a quick review on how to slice the brisket, at the end of the day, you can slice it however you want, but this will be a good simple guideline you can figure out on your own way to slice your brisket from here. Before I make any cuts into the brisket, I'll make an obligatory slice in the middle so I can see how it turned out. I can usually see how deep the smoke penetrated into the meat to form a smoke ring and how much juice is in the meat. When you're slicing the brisket, the direction of cuts is usually perpendicular to the grain. For flats, you slice the meat in the same direction when the brisket was cut in half. The point meat has the grain going the opposite, so you rotate the point meat 90 degrees to cut against the grain. Cutting into the flat end. Let's cut it into bite-sized chunks and give it a taste. The bark is a bit too crispy, but oh yeah, the flavor is there. It came out very tender and pulled apart really easy. This is a lot better than the last cook. The edge turned out a little roasty with the bark being too thick, but it's alright. I'm happy with the result. Now let's look at the point meat. Again, the bark has formed a little too thick and didn't have much flexibility in it. While you're cutting, the whole chunk ended up coming off and the edges got a little too roast beefy, but again, I'm pretty happy with the result. So overall, this cook was a big improvement after addressing those 7 mistakes I've made from my first cook off of my Brazos. I still have ways to go on the fire management and regulating temperatures, but I feel like I'm on the right track. There you have it, my second ever brisket off of my Brazos offset. What are the things you did to run your smoker better? If you have any tips, please share with us in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, check out my Instagram handle @MeatThinker. Thank you for watching and keep meat thinking.